A little bit. So when you talk to folks that are here illegally, one of the things that resonated with me is they're saying, listen, if what you're telling me is you're open to the concept of legal status immediately, and the risk of deportation is removed, but I had to forfeit my right to become a citizen, but my kids who came here with me can retain the right to become citizens of this country, they're very interested in that concept. And that is something I think, and we had a conversation yesterday at a town hall, informal meeting with people that wanted to focus on immigration in the agricultural community in particular. And that is one thing I think is a path to get to the finish line to solve this problem. Because we're going to have to come together. It cannot be the Senate bill with all the work that's been done there, that went into it, and the compromises that were reached. The Senate bill is a lot of times when people push to me and say, that's what we have to do in order to solve this problem. It's just the reality of DC, the reality of split government, is that we're not going to take the Senate bill and get to the finish line. Because there's a lot of people, like myself included, who think that the legal path to citizenship is something that is too far and it's not right. So from my perspective, how do we get to the finish line? And how do we deal with the issue in a substantive way where we respect the rule of law, and yet we are practical and solve the issue of 11 million folks, and also we don't put ourselves in the same position 10 years from now or 15 years from now like we did from 1986 to now when they did last comprehensive immigration reform, and they said we would never have to deal with it again because we solved it. Well, look at where we're at. So those are the kind of concepts that we deploy in the area and that we will continue to deploy. And I think if we focus on the issue of maybe backing off citizenship for those that are here illegally, but focus on legal status, I think that has a much better chance of getting through both chambers and getting to the finish line and getting it taken care of. And respecting the dreamers, respecting the kids, respecting the people that came here illegally. Also, on this issue, we spend a lot of time on the issue of ag and student immigration. To me, that is something I hear in the district. We're in the ag school here in Cornell, and agricultural interests of the district are significant across the entire district, so we spend a lot of time on our guest worker needs and our guest worker programs so that our labor needs on our farms and agricultural communities are met and that they're stable. That's why we supported things like we're opening them up to the dairy program, having the U.S. Department of Agriculture in control of these programs rather than the Labor Department, things like that. And we've been continuing advocating those reforms. Also, it doesn't make sense to me that we have institutions like Cornell, where kids come, we educate them, and essentially we say, thank you very much, here's your degree, go back home. That we can do better on. And also, it dovetails into our manufacturing renaissance that I believe in, is that we need those skills here on American soil to enhance our opportunities to grow U.S. manufacturing. So that is something we're very interested in working on. So that's kind of the outline of where we're at, and hopefully that answers the questions on the issue.
Just
oh, got a battery.
Reload it. Like I said, we have a lot of questions on immigration. We touched on many of the issues that have been covered. There was a specific question. How would you vote on the bipartisan Senate bill if it came up for a vote? Just like that.
Yeah, I looked at the Senate bill, and as I said in the earlier comments, I would vote no on that legislation if it was not changed. But I don't think the Senate bill will go to the House. And what we need to do is take the House, and I think the House is going to take multiple steps on this issue. And once the House acts, I think the intention is to get it to conference committee and then come back with a different package. And then we'll have to see what that package looks like. Hopefully answers the question.
Sort of, actually, we've touched on most of the topics in your remarks, but interesting emotional perspective. Were you or your staff afraid or scared of the police and ICE on your way here?
Well, obviously we live in America, and obviously I'm hearing a comment in there that we heard yesterday from a group of folks during this meeting that were harassed by our law enforcement and by our people. And I will tell you that is despicable, and we have offered our offices to them to make sure we monitor and be a voice to go after, for example, the Buffalo office is what I'm hearing, that there are some major complaints about the Buffalo ICE operations, and we're going to put a spotlight on that, because that's not acceptable. But I will tell you that I have a lot of respect for our law enforcement community. I have a lot of respect for the folks, the men and women that are out there who do it right day in and day out, and I will tell you 99.99% of them are doing just that, and I will stand with them. But if there's a rotten egg in there, if there's somebody who's engaging in something, and if this individual who asked the question,
It was me.
yeah. If you've been harassed, if you've been targeted, if you've been profiled, I want to know about it.
I've been
And we will pull that
profiled.
right out.
If I have dark skin and this strong accent, obviously I'm suspicious of something. And yes, I've been targeted, and I bring this letter from more than 50 farm workers who were afraid to come here. And it's in English.
Perfect.
And I
Thank
have
you.
it in Spanish also. And those farm workers live in a highly targeted area by ICE and the police, state police. And they work in farms, picking up onions, apples,
Apples and
the
the
main
fruits
income
up there.
of our beautiful New York state. And thank you so
Amen.
much for the opportunity.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming. I appreciate the courage to put a name on this piece of paper. And I'm looking at these addresses and these locations, and many of them are north of the district, but that doesn't matter to me. We're in a region here. And what I'll do, and then looking at these areas, I know this in the Buffalo jurisdiction, and this is consistent with what I was hearing yesterday. So if we could follow up with you offline to make sure that you know specific events, specific officers in particular. We're not going to use your name, but we're going to put a highlight on it, and we'll get to the bottom of it, because that's not acceptable.
Thank you so
But
much.
the rule of law, though, has to be respected, and I will stand with our law enforcement folks. And I know Cornell has some of their finest here. That was part of their policies for hosting the event today. I thank them for coming out and being with us as we go forward. So thank you.
And again, we touched on many of the topics. I do want to point out that if people are having particular immigration issues, they can contact our staff. James here is our head of constituent casework, and he handles immigration a lot himself personally. And so we deal with a lot of students here at the university and other folks, farm workers that are having issues. So we encourage them to contact our office from a constituent casework perspective, and including our office here in Ithaca. We have an office that's down at the Gateway Center.
And we're open 24/7. I remember, yeah, Sharon laughed. I knew that was Sharon's laugh. I was at Christmas Eve midnight mass, and I got a call from the office, and people tracked us down. And we had a constituent who was stranded in Benin, Africa. And it took 2 days, but we started Christmas Eve, and we used the office to help those people out and get them out. So it's not just immigration issues; it's, you can imagine the amount of things that we get that we have to deal with, and we like doing it.
And I bring up Ithaca office because we did have one question about why we do not have an Ithaca office. We do have an Ithaca office, as I said, it's the Gateway Center. It's one of our 5 offices in the congressional district. And we encourage folks, as Tom said, come during office hours if you want to talk to folks personally, but also anytime day or night, you can email or call, leave a voice message. Those are available through read.house.gov. So we try to be as accessible as possible, and those are things you can do even when it's not in regular business hours.
And I know we had this talk with a nice lady on the way in who kind of lived up in the Seneca Falls area. So just so you know the lay of the land with our offices, we have the one in Ithaca, we have the one in Cornell, we have